Molly works at a veterinary hospital in a safari park. First thing in the morning, she feeds this animal. Can you guess its name? That's right, it's a panda. After that, she brings food to this animal. Can you guess its name? It's a bear. Great job! Then Molly feeds this guy. Can you crack this rebus? It's a tiger. After feeding the tiger, Molly says hi to this animal. Have you guessed its name? Right, it's a monkey. After lunch, Molly takes care of these creatures. Any ideas who they could be? Butterflies. Great job! One day after breakfast, Molly checked money donations for the animals. A crow got $7, a ladybug received $21, and a spider got $28. Based on this information, how much money will the tiger get? The tiger will get $14 because it has 4 legs. Each animal received $3.50 per leg. Molly went to the kitchen to have lunch. Usually, she prepares her food at home and brings it to work in a lunchbox. But this time, she saw that someone had stolen her lasagna from the fridge. Molly got very upset and questioned her colleagues. Mike said, "I haven't been to the kitchen today. I was too busy bathing our hippo." Melissa said, "I spent this morning cleaning the pool. I didn't touch your food." And Alina said, "I had business lunch with investors downtown. I've just arrived." Who is lying? Melissa. Look, the pool is still dirty. Mike offered Molly a deal. "I'm going to give you my lunch if you crack this riddle. I'm an odd number. Take away 1 letter and I'll become even. What number am I?" Can you help Molly? The correct answer is 7. Molly received an emergency call from one of the guards. Someone had released all their parrots. Molly interrogated 3 people who were standing nearby. Jack said, "I didn't see anything, lady. I went blind 10 years ago. I come to this park to listen to bird songs." Rachel said, "I'm afraid of birds. I can't even come close to them." And Peter said, "I was just passing by. Can you tell me where the restroom is?" Who's lying? It's Jack. If he's really blind, why did he bring this camera? Molly walked around the park. She had to find all the parrots before her boss arrived. How many parrots can you see in this picture? I see 5. What about this image? Can you see any parrots among other birds? Here they are. After rescuing all the birds, Molly finally sat down to get some rest. But suddenly, she received a strange message full of complaints. Something really weird was going on with animals in the park. Molly rushed outside to check on the situation. Can you help her figure out what's so weird here? This monkey has a goat leg. What about this image? This fish is definitely from another planet. What about these tigers? What's wrong with them? They have 5 legs instead of 4. Molly went to the warehouse to get some food for fish. When she tried to open the door, she realized that her boss, Alina, had changed the code. Can you help Molly figure out the new password? Look at this note. It says tiger, cat, leopard, wolf, lynx. That's a little hint, since one word is different from the others. The correct password is wolf. This is the only animal that doesn't belong to the cat family. The lights inside the warehouse suddenly went out. Molly got lost. After wandering around the building for a while, she found 3 doors. But behind each of them, there was a trap. Hungry lions hid behind the first door. Instead of the floor, there was a pool swarming with fish behind the second door. And venomous snakes were waiting for Molly behind the third door. Which way should she choose? The second door is the safest option. Molly can use the diving suit that lies in the corner of the room. Also, Molly can feed the fish along the way. Molly and her colleague Mike were going home after work late at night. Suddenly, they saw their boss, Alina, talking to bats. They snuck in closer and hid behind a bush. Alina looked like a vampire and laughed like a freak. Next morning, Molly and Mike decided to check whether Alina was a human or a monster. It was her birthday, so they brought her 2 bouquets of flowers. But Alina accepted only one of them. This was when the guys learned for sure that Alina was a real vampire. How did they know? They hid garlic in the second bouquet. Alina invited all her colleagues to her birthday party. Molly didn't want to come alone, so she uploaded a dating app, hoping to meet someone special.
Oh no!
Here are several pictures of nice guys, but one of them lives with his girlfriend. Can you tell who? It's this one. There's a pair of high heels and a dress in his closet. Alina asked Molly to arrive earlier to help her prepare for the party. Molly was cooking snacks in the kitchen when she heard a scream. She ran into Alina's room and saw her crying on the bed. Someone ruined her party dress while she was taking a shower. Molly interrogated 3 suspects. Kim, the cleaning lady, said, "It's not my job to take care of Alina's clothes. I was cleaning the house all day." Sam, the gardener, said, "I've been hanging string lights and decorating the garden for the party. I haven't even entered the house yet." And Alina's sister, Lily, said, "I didn't touch it. But anyways, this dress didn't suit Alina at all. Purple is my color. Everyone in this family knows that." So, who ruined the dress? Sam. Look, the string lights are still in the box. At the party, Molly saw Mike with a mysterious lady. The lady was wearing a hoodie and standing with her back turned to Molly. So Molly couldn't see her face. Mike and the lady hid from everyone in Alina's library. Later that night, Molly entered the library too, but it was empty. After checking the room, Molly knew for sure which of these 3 ladies was Mike's secret girlfriend. How did she know? The second lady is wearing only one earring. She lost the second one in Alina's library, and Molly found it on the carpet. Alina called the police early in the morning. Officers arrived at her place and questioned her. She said, "My husband and I had a romantic dinner last night, but at some point we had an argument. Then he felt sick. At least he said so, but I didn't believe him. He always tends to exaggerate things. So I slammed the door shut and left. I came back home in the morning and saw him unconscious on the floor. I don't know what happened to him." The officers immediately arrested Alina. Why? If the candles had been burning all night long, they would have burned out by now. Molly had a school friend. Her name was Sarah. One day, they went on a picnic with their families. Sarah's mother was very eccentric. She had pink hair and always wore glitter. And she took her pet iguana, Tom, everywhere she went. She also has 3 daughters. The oldest daughter's name was Monday, and her middle daughter was called Tuesday. Can you guess her youngest daughter's name? This is Sarah's mom, so it's pretty obvious that her youngest daughter's name is Sarah, right? Rick had a job interview at the hospital. He had been dreaming of becoming a vet all his life. Molly liked his resume, so she decided to test his logical thinking with one final riddle. She gave him this list of months and asked just one question. Which month comes next? Can you help Rick out? It's September. The months on this list go from those with the least number of letters to those with the most. It's time to groom the animals. Molly hired a group of talented groomers. 2 groomers can groom 2 animals in 2 hours. In this case, how many animals would 4 people groom in 4 hours? Your first instinct was probably to say 4 animals. But in fact, the correct answer is 8. And it makes sense, because 4 groomers would groom 4 animals in 2 hours. And in 4 hours, this number will double. I'm something people love or hate. I change people's appearances and thoughts. If a person takes care of themselves, I will go up even higher. I can fool some people. To others, I'm a mystery. Some people might want to try and hide me, but I will still show. No matter how hard people try, I will never go down. What am I? Have you guessed? The correct answer is age. One of these 3 people is left-handed. Can you guess who? It's the waiter. It's easier for lefties to hold a tray in their right hand and serve dishes and drinks with their left hand.
The view is beautiful, but he should get moving. He's running out of time. Where should he go next? He sees 3 signs, but the letters are mixed up. Can you figure out which way Mark should choose? These signs are hints. If you put the letters on them in the correct order, the first sign will turn into right way, the second one into wrong way, and the last one will be wronger way, which is grammatically incorrect. Anyways, I guess Mark should opt for the left direction. Sometime later, Mark stumbles across a big old castle. He should enter it and see what's happening there. He comes up to the door, but it's locked. It requires a password. Here's a sequence of numbers. 4 more digits must be added to it. Can you guess which ones? One plus 3 is 4. 3 plus 4 is 7. 4 plus 7 is 11. Then 7 plus 11 is 18. So the next digits are 2 and 9. 29. Because that's 11 plus 18. And 18 plus 29 gives us 47, which is 4 and 7. The password is 2947. And this is the right answer. The door clicks open, and Mark walks into a dark and dusty corridor. But once he takes a step, he moves a string on the floor, and a metal cage falls down, trapping him inside. Luckily, there's a way to deal with it. On the wall, the guy sees 3 buttons and an instruction. If Mark presses the blue button, the cage will be filled with water and will only open in 10 minutes. Just an FYI, the average person can survive without air for 3 to 4 minutes at most. The green button will open all the cages at the same time. But look around, there's one more cage in the room, and inside that cage, a hungry wolf is pacing. The orange button will make the floor of the cage disappear, and Mark will fall into a hole filled with hungry alligators. What is the guy's best choice? Seriously, there's no need to try anything risky. If Mark hits the blue button, the water will just go through the bars of the cage, and in 10 minutes, Mark will be free to go. Soon, the cage opens. Mark sees a long corridor with many turns. Mark's task is to figure out which turn is the one he needs. But it's not that hard. The guy is actually inside an art gallery with paintings on the wall. After every turn, he can see 2 pictures. Mark should just follow the original paintings. He will need your help to tell them apart. Okay, here's the first one. Which one is the original? Both paintings seem to be The Starry Night by Van Gogh. But look, in one of these pictures, there's a couple of planes in the sky. Van Gogh definitely didn't paint that, so this one must be the replica. So Mark should better choose the other turn. Another turn, another choice. This time, it's Girl with a Pearl Earring by Johannes Vermeer. Which one is the original? I don't think the girl in the real masterpiece had a nose piercing, so the painting on the right is fake, and Mark should turn left. But surely you know this one, Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci. But one of the paintings is really messed up. Can you spot the difference? Look, in the right picture, you can see some cars on the road behind the woman's back. I think Mark should turn left. This is The Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali. Which painting is a replica? It's the one on the left. I don't think a melted modern smartphone belongs there. Turn right. And one more choice to make. It's American Gothic by Grant Wood. Look closely and help Mark choose. The man in the right picture has tattoos on his knuckles, which makes the painting fake, so Mark should turn left. He finds himself in a dark hallway, lit by several torches. There are 3 doors. Each of them can lead Mark to the place he needs, but behind each door, there's something dangerous. The instruction on the wall says that behind the first one, there's an iron block equipped with a movement sensor. It crushes everyone who enters. Behind the second door, there's an electric shocker that never misses. Behind the third door, there's shattered glass all over the floor. Which way should Mark choose? He should pick the third door. He's wearing a pair of shoes, right? So the glass isn't gonna be a big problem. Kyle arrived at the bakery where he'd ordered a birthday cake for Lily. The pastry chef brought him 3 cakes for 3 different Lilies. Can you tell which cake is for Kyle's Lily? The third one. It's the only cake decorated with a cream guitar. Kyle knew that Lily wanted a guitar, so he ordered a matching cake design. After that, Kyle went to the local fancy dress store, but it was closed. The owner left a note on the door. It had a hint. 345129. Can you help Kyle figure out the 10-digit code? It's 444-111199. Kyle literally had to enter 3 4s, 5 1s, and 2 9s. When Kyle entered the store, he didn't see anyone, so he went to the storage room. The owner was lying on the floor unconscious. Kyle called the police right away. Several officers came and questioned the owner's assistant, Stacy. She said, "When I arrived at work, I felt that something was wrong. The door to the storage room was open. I entered and saw my boss unconscious on the floor, so I ran outside to get some help." The officers arrested Stacy right away. Why? She was lying. This type of door shuts automatically. When the owner of the store came to his senses, he was so overwhelmed that he didn't want to give Kyle any costumes. But Kyle needed them desperately, so he offered the owner a deal. "Ask me any riddle. If I guess, I'll get the costumes. If I can't crack it, I'll give you this delicious cake." The owner liked that deal, and that was his riddle. "I go from house to house, a messenger small and tight. When it rains or snows, I sleep outside at night. What am I?" Can you help Kyle save the birthday party? The answer is a road. Kyle picked the costumes and wigs and was ready to go to Lily's house. But first, the guy had to walk through an enchanted park. There were 3 ways. The first path led past several angry lions. A wicked witch who disliked men blocked the second path. And the third path was full of poppies that could put him to sleep immediately. Which way should he choose? The second option is the safest. Kyle can put on one of the wigs and dress and pretend to be a woman to pass by the witch. Kyle and Lily's other friends came earlier to her house to decorate it and prepare the surprise party. Meanwhile, Lily was away having her nails done. Lily's mother told the guys that the girl had left a spare key to the house under the rug on the doorstep. But when the friends arrived, they didn't find any key. Can you figure out where the key is? The dog took it. Take a look at these paw prints. It's pretty clear that the dog was near the rug and moved it. Then, the prints lead to the doghouse, so it's very likely that the key is there. The guys got very hungry while decorating the house, so they decided to share one lasagna among all 12 guests. Mike offered Rick $50 to divide the lasagna into 12 pieces with only 4 cuts. Can you help Rick? Since the lasagna is rectangular, the task is pretty simple. First, he needs to divide it into 3 identical pieces with 2 cuts. Then, make 1 perpendicular cut in the middle. So far, we've got 6 pieces and 1 final cut to make. Now he should make a horizontal cut exactly through the middle of the lasagna. And voila! There are 12 identical pieces that can be shared among 12 guests. Every guest wanted to be the one to bring Lily her cake with candles when she got home. Kyle offered such a deal. The one who's the first to guess my riddle will carry the cake. Everyone agreed. Here's the riddle. White, fat, and fluffy. May even look like a puppy. Seems heavy but is light. Floats about without a worry. But if it turns dark, you have to hurry. What is it? Jenny was the first to answer correctly, so she got the right to carry the birthday cake. What did she say? A cloud. Finally, Lily arrived home. The guys congratulated her and gave her the birthday cake. Lily made a wish and prepared to blow the candles out. But suddenly, Fiona, who was filming the moment, began to scream. Why? What's so creepy here? Take a look at the background. This face is very strange, isn't it?
Rachel arrived at a theater to meet Stan. He was a famous director. She noticed 5 weird things about this place right away. What about you? Can you see them too? Something's wrong with the gravity, in particular with this chandelier that isn't hanging from the ceiling as it should. The wind that the fan creates is blowing to the right, but this actress's hair is flowing to the left. There are human footsteps on the ceiling. The spotlights are red, but the lighting on the stage is blue. And this ballerina's shadow is falling in the wrong direction. Stan introduced Rachel to his favorite actors, Josh, Steven, and Tyler. They were triplets that always joked around, but this time they agreed that one of them would tell the truth and the other 2 would lie. They told Rachel about their game. She had to guess their names. The first guy said that he was Josh. The second introduced himself as Steven, and the third guy said, "The second person always tells the truth." Can you figure out who is who? If the third guy is telling the truth, then so is the second. But only one brother was supposed to be honest. So the third guy must be lying. This means the second brother is lying too. So then, the first guy must be telling the truth. He is Josh. The second guy is neither Josh nor Steven. He's Tyler. And the third brother is Steven. Stan offered Rachel to play a princess in his new production. Rachel went to the dressing room to apply makeup. Suddenly, she heard a scream. Rachel ran out of the room and saw the main star of the play on the stage covered in paint. Rachel questioned the suspects. Ron, an assistant, claimed that he'd been eating his sandwich on the balcony when it happened. Lily, a stylist, was on the phone with her husband. And Stacy, a cleaner, said she'd been cleaning the bathroom at that moment. Who's guilty? Ron. He's holding a sandwich, and it's still unwrapped. Now that Rachel got a job, she needed a place to stay in Hollywood. She started looking for an apartment and went to 3 agencies. Each agency showed her one apartment. Rachel liked them all, but when she examined the apartments, she realized that there were scammers among the realtors. Rachel looked at the documents attentively. Which apartment should she choose? Rachel chose the third option. The first apartment is on the 6th floor. But that's impossible because the building only has 5 floors. And according to the description of the second apartment, its construction will be finished in 2025. This is 2022, by the way. But Rachel needs an apartment immediately. Rachel rented the third apartment and moved in right away. But something was wrong with the bathroom there. Can you see it? How is she supposed to flush? Can you see anything weird here? There's no shower drain. Rachel heard the doorbell ring. Her neighbors, Peter and Victor, brought her 2 cakes, but only one of them was edible. Can you tell which one? Victor's cake is sprinkled with almond flakes, while Peter's cake is decorated with human nails. The next day, Zoe texted Rachel to check how she was doing. Rachel sent her this selfie and said, "Alone at home, learning my lines." Zoe sent Rachel this reply, "What a liar you are!" Why? If Rachel's alone, who's that guy? Zoe took Rachel to a party and introduced her to Nick, an eccentric billionaire who was financing one of Zoe's movie projects. They had a brief conversation, and then Rachel lost him in the crowd. In a while, Rachel noticed 3 guys facing away from her. Each of them looked exactly like Nick. Can you tell who the real Nick is? This guy has a tattoo on his hand, while Nick didn't have it. And this guy's suit is fake. They wrote the brand name with a mistake. Nick offered for Rachel to sing karaoke. The girls sang a song, and Nick liked it so much that he offered her a suitcase full of gold. But he wouldn't reward just anyone. Only smart people deserved his money. To get the gold, Rachel had to crack a riddle. Nick showed her 4 rare coins. He said there was something wrong with 3 of them. Can you figure out which coin is real? People who lived at that time didn't call their era BCE. This coin is from the future. Take a look at the date. There weren't cars in 1365. So here's the only real coin. Rachel used an app to call a taxi to take her precious suitcase home. She saw 3 identical cars in the parking lot. Each of the 3 drivers claimed that Rachel had ordered their car. Which driver should Rachel choose? The third one. Take a look at the first taxi. There's a creepy guy hiding in the back seat. And the second car is missing a wheel.
There was a heist in the Great Museum of Art. A very valuable and important painting was stolen. A detective investigated the crime scene and managed to find the person who had stolen the painting. However, when the detective asked the thief to give it back, the criminal gave him 3 copies of the same painting. He refused to tell the police which one was original. But the detective immediately figured it out. How do you think he did it? Do you see that each painting has a different frame? But only one of them is similar to the frames of other paintings in the museum. And since this museum is known to use the same style of frames, this one is the original painting. Jeremy was accepted to the best school of witchcraft and wizardry. One of the classes he had to take was about transforming into animals. 3 professors taught that class, and each of them specialized in transforming into one certain animal. Can you tell which professor turns into what kind of animal? Do you see that the first professor has a forked tongue? She must transform into a snake. Have you noticed that the second professor has a lion's tail? Her animal must be a lion. And do you see bear claws the third professor has? Then he must turn into a grizzly bear. Tony was going to study abroad for 1 semester. He flew into another country, found his new dorm where he was going to stay, and unpacked his stuff. Then he called his parents to inform them he'd arrived. They asked him, "What time is it there?" Tony was pretty tired and jet-lagged, so he couldn't immediately tell what time it was. Can you help Tony figure out the time? Look, the Eiffel Tower and Sydney Opera House views are just posters, but you can actually see Mount Fuji through the window. So, Tony is in Tokyo, and it's 8:45 there. Carly, Zoe woke up one day and found themselves in a weird place that looked like a jail. Which of them will be able to escape? Carly can escape because the bars of her prison cell are made of wax. She'll be able to use the candle on the floor behind her back to melt them. Zoe can also escape. Do you see several rats in the corner that are munching on the bars? It's because the bars of the girl's cell are made of salted breadsticks, and she can eat them and escape. Isabella was a princess and the heir to the throne. One day, an evil witch lured her into an enchanted forest so that she could take over the kingdom. Isabella got lost, but fortunately, she had a magic pendant. The king's magician gave it to her some time ago, claiming it would help her find her way back if she ever got lost. She used the pendant, and 3 spirit animals appeared. The first spirit animal was an owl. The second one was a butterfly, and the third spirit animal was a hawk. Only one of them knew the way back to the castle. But if Isabella chose to follow the wrong animal, she would find herself even further away from her kingdom. Which spirit animal should she follow? Have you noticed the kingdom banner in the throne room? It has a butterfly on it, so it's the official symbol of this kingdom. Isabella should follow the butterfly. Toby was a rich businessman. One day, he came back home from a dinner party and saw that somebody had broken into his house and stolen his expensive watch from his safe. He called the police. They investigated the crime scene and found 3 suspects. Gordon said that at that time, he'd been at home trying to make his teenage kids go to bed. Danny said he'd spent the whole night at a party with his friends. And Matt claimed that he'd been at a movie theater watching a new superhero movie between 12 and 2 a.m. The police immediately realized who'd broken into Toby's house and stolen the watch. Have you figured it out? It was Matt. When Toby arrived home, it was 11:30 p.m., so it doesn't matter where Matt was between 12 and 2 a.m. Elliot was a crazy scientist who was obsessed with the idea of parallel universes. He dedicated his whole life to figuring out how to create portals to other dimensions. One day, he finally succeeded in building a portal machine. When he tried to test it, 3 portals appeared in front of him. And then the machine just blew up. And since he had meddled with the laws of physics, the universe where he lived started to collapse. The scientist had to choose one of the portals to escape through, and fast. The first portal opened to the universe in which Elliot was a supervillain. The second portal opened in the world in which the man was a ruthless king. The third portal opened on the planet where Elliot was an underwater creature. Which portal should he choose? Do you see the portal machine the supervillain Elliot is holding? It's the same as the one that destroyed itself. Apparently, supervillain Elliot is a scientist as well. He might be able to help the real Elliot to bring his original universe back by making a better portal machine. Sally was at a crowded concert. Suddenly, she felt somebody reaching into her bag and pulling out her wallet that only had her credit cards inside. She couldn't see who the person was, but after checking the footage from the surveillance cameras, security guards were able to narrow it down to 3 suspects. Joshua said he had been sharing concert videos on his social media and didn't have anything to do with the theft. Jennifer said she was super rich and didn't need anyone else's wallet with credit cards. She only used cash when she went shopping. Penny said she had been singing along to the song the band had been playing, so she didn't even know what had happened. The security guards immediately figured out who the thief was. Who stole Sally's wallet? Nobody told Jennifer that the wallet contained only credit cards, but somehow she still knew it. She must have stolen it. Mary found a new job in another city, so she had to move. The realtor found 3 options for Mary to choose from and took her to see each of them. First, she brought Mary to apartment number 1, which was located downtown. Second, she took the woman to apartment number 2, which was within walking distance of a subway station. After that, she took Mary to apartment number 3, which was next to a grocery store. Which apartment should Mary choose? Since apartment number 1 has a rat living in it, and apartment number 3 has a crack in one of the walls, Mary should choose apartment number 2. Miss Sanders took her students camping at the weekend. She wanted to tell them about forest plants. During the trip, one of the students wandered off and got lost in the forest. Hours passed, but he couldn't find his way back. The guy felt very hungry, but he didn't have any food with him. That was when he saw 3 different bushes with 3 different kinds of berries in front of him. Only one type of berries was safe to eat, and the other 2 were poisonous. Which berry should he eat as he's waiting to be rescued? Remember the poster that was in the classroom? It stated that these 2 kinds of berries were poisonous, so only these ones are safe to eat. Sandy was driving across the country to visit her family. She was tired of being on the road and wanted to take a break. She saw a diner and stopped there to have something to eat and rest. The diner looked empty, old, and dirty. The waitress told her there were only 3 meal options to choose from and asked her which one she wanted to eat. So, which one looks safe to eat? Do you see the fumes coming from the first meal? They're green. That can't be a good sign. And the third meal has a little bug on it. Yikes! So Sandy should eat the second meal and get the heck out of there. Audrey won the Best Actress Award at a film festival. But when she left the stage and went to give an interview to the reporters, her award was stolen. A police officer arrived and found 3 suspects. The first suspect was Grace, a cleaning lady. She said she had been taking selfies with her favorite celebrities backstage and didn't have anything to do with the award. The second suspect was Gabrielle, a reporter. She said she had stolen the award because she had been with other reporters waiting for her turn to ask Audrey some questions. The third suspect was Catherine, an actress. She said she was not the one who had stolen the award because she'd been among guests watching the show. Besides, she already won the Best Actress Award last year. The police officer knew who was lying. And you? Take a closer look at the selfie Grace took. You can see Catherine behind, sneaking away with the award.
Jenny was locked in a room with 15 other people. Each of them could see the entire room and all the people inside without turning their head or body or moving in any other way. To get out of the room, Jenny had to place an orange in such a way that everyone but one person could see it. The girl managed to do it. But how? She put the orange on one person's head. A notorious bad guy caught wealthy businessman Brian and locked him in a room. "I won't let you go until you double the money I'll leave for you." And the criminal put $5,000 on the table. Tracked had disappeared from his office. It had been on the desk the evening before, but nowhere to be found in the morning. Ashton immediately headed to the office to question the employees. In no time, he had 3 suspects. Ben said he had spent the previous evening at the movies. Mason had taken his girlfriend out to dinner, and Jesse had been invited to a party. It didn't take Liam long to understand who was lying. It was Ben. His ticket wasn't torn, so he didn't actually go to the movies. Right before a restaurant was about to open, someone stole all the money from the office. A detective arrived for interrogation. A cook said that he was working hard and didn't have time to walk or gaze around, so he didn't see anything. The security guy said that he was in the bathroom and didn't steal anything. The waiter said he remembered seeing one visitor heading to the office. Somehow he ignored it and didn't stop them. The waiter got arrested for stealing the money. Why? The restaurant wasn't open yet. There could be no visitors. Blake was a writer applying for a job in a fashion magazine. However, the boss was a whimsical woman. Blake did the interview well, but still, the woman didn't want to hire her because Blake was too young. The boss poured some water into a glass and asked Blake to get her some apple juice to fail her. However, there were two conditions. She wanted the water in the glass, but didn't want it to mix with the juice. Still, Blake figured out how to do it and got the job. How? She just put the glass in the freezer and waited till the water got frozen, then she poured the juice on top of it. Della was having a birthday party. She invited 3 people over and got 3 presents, a pair of heels, a bag of makeup, and golden earrings. However, Eloise didn't like one of the presents. Can you guess which one and why? She didn't like the golden earrings just because she couldn't wear them. Her ears aren't pierced. Well, maybe she will consider piercing them. Jason is making pizza for his family, and Savannah went outside to make some grilled vegetables. Which one of them does something wrong? Jason. He forgot to turn on the oven. James was a famous detective who could crack even the hardest cases. Once, he was investigating a case and found some crucial evidence. The next morning, he woke up in a well. It was old, deep, but luckily not filled with water, but quite dusty. On the flip side, there was no way he could get out to the surface. Suddenly, James saw his main suspect's face at the top of the well. "You won't live long enough to rat me out," the man shouted. And then, the detective felt soil falling on his head. The bad guy was going to bury him alive. But in an hour, James was already out of the well and running away. How did he manage to get out? The detective started to shake off and tamp down the soil that was falling into the well. He was getting closer and closer to the surface until he managed to jump out and run away. Jane was walking home late. She was pretty tired, so she decided to take a bus. It was midnight, but the bus was packed with people. You get a gut feeling later that there's something wrong with some of these people. Who's a zombie? There are 20 people on the bus. There are 2 zombies among them. A man on the right has a bit of a bandage on his arm, and the woman next to the window seems to be groaning all the time. All the people in town thought Jack wasn't smart enough. Every time somebody offered him a 50C coin or a $1 bill, he would always choose the 50C coin. Many people every day would offer him to do it, but he never grabbed the bill. Why was Jack smart? Jack was actually pretty smart because he would get money without doing anything. As long as he agreed to get less money for no reason, people would come and try his trick again and again. See that car? Jack's been refusing $1 bills for over 10 years now, so he saved up enough money to get a car.
Emery was on the expedition and finally found an old cave where pirates used to leave their treasures. However, there are 4 chests, but only one had the gold. If Emery touches the wrong one, she'll get locked in the cave forever. The first chest said, "The treasure is in chest 2 or chest 4." The second one said, "It's in chest 1 or chest 3." The third chest says, "It's in here." The fourth one said, "It's not in here." However, only one of these statements was true. So which chest should Emery pick? If the treasure is in the first chest, statements 2 and 4 are correct. However, there should only be one correct one. If it's in the second chest, the first one and the fourth one are true. If it's in the third chest, then 2 statements are true, the second and third. So Emery should pick the fourth chest. This way, only the first statement is correct and the treasure is in the fourth one. Detective Callum was in a bank and heard 2 women arguing. Mrs. Lewis and Mrs. Clark were both claiming that a handbag was theirs. Luckily, one young man took a picture of the waiting room just before the argument. So take a look and tell who the handbag belongs to. The handbag stands right between the women. However, Mrs. Lewis has a cast, and the bag stands next to her broken arm. If it was her handbag, she would put it on the other side of her, so the bag must belong to Mrs. Clark. Nick and Collins were traveling by train, and they were leaving at the same station. Collins stood up first and got his bag. But when Nick got his bag, he opened it and realized it wasn't his, so he accused Collins of trying to steal his bag. However, Collins says it was just an accident, because the bags looked exactly the same. Still, Nick didn't believe it was an accident. Take a look inside their bags and try to guess why. Collins' bag is only filled with a couple of plush toys, while Nick's bag had electronics and many books. Collins couldn't take Nick's bag by accident because even though they're similar, their weight is too different, and he'd noticed that. In the morning, Mrs. Miller was wrapping Christmas presents for her family. She left to take a shower when she was done, but the gifts were gone when she returned. She went downstairs and asked her family who took the presents, but everyone denied taking them. Her husband said that he was watching TV the whole morning and didn't even get up. Her daughter, Amanda, said that she forgot about the laundry hanging outside last night, so she was out picking it up. Her other daughter, Jane, said that she was in the kitchen eating. Can you tell who lied? It was Amanda. Her laundry is perfectly folded and dry, but it's cold outside and the laundry would be all frozen if she just picked it up. Mason was arrested for robbing a bank. The police knew that his girlfriend helped him and wanted to arrest her too. They had 4 suspects. One of them was the girlfriend who was lying. Another was his sister, who didn't rob the bank, but was also lying because she wanted to help. The other 2 girls were innocent and were telling the truth. So who is Mason's girlfriend? Selena says Amelia is his girlfriend. Felicia says Penelope is lying. Penelope says Selena is lying. Amelia says Felicia is not his sister. If Selena is telling the truth, Amelia is lying. Then Felicia is his sister who's lying. Therefore, Penelope is telling the truth. It contradicts that Selena is telling the truth. So, Selena is lying. Then, Penelope is telling the truth, and Felicia is lying. So, Amelia must be the other girl telling the truth. 2 liars are Selena and Felicia. They are Mason's girlfriend and sister. Since Amelia says Felicia isn't his sister, then Selena is his sister and Felicia is his girlfriend. Archer was watching TV when he got a call. Detective Callum said that his friend George was poisoned and asked to come. Archer arrived as soon as he could and was immediately arrested for poisoning his friend. Why? The detective didn't say where exactly to come. Maybe coming to his friend's house could be logical, but they are in some park. How would Archer know where to come if he didn't know what happened? A postman called Detective Callum and said someone needed help and gave the address. The detective arrived and found Mr. Hanks tied to a chair. Mr. Hanks said that he had been sitting there for several hours. Someone broke into his house at night, tied him up, and stole all of his money. His wife was outside the city. When the postman brought the mail in the morning, he asked for help. However, Detective Callum didn't believe the man and said that he staged it. Why didn't he believe Mr. Hanks? The letters the postman just brought don't lie on the floor by the door. Instead, they're on the shelf, where only someone who is inside the house could put it. If Mr. Hanks sat there tied up all night and was alone, it'd stay on the floor. Mr. Carter, a rich man who collected antiques, asked Detective Morris to visit him. When the detective arrived, the collector said, "I've just got a precious statuette, but I need to go away on business for a week, and I'm afraid someone will break into my house. My neighbors are so suspicious." Of course, the statuette is insured, but still. Detective Morris had some other urgent things to do. He promised to come back in the evening to figure out how to deal with the situation. But when he arrived several hours later, Mr. Carter rushed to him. "I was away for an hour, no more. I drove my sister to the doctor, but when I came back, the statuette was gone." Detective Morris didn't believe the collector. Why? When he left the house in the afternoon, he noticed an apple lying in front of the left part of the gate. It's still there. But for a car to drive through, both parts of the gate have to be open. This means that Mr. Carter lied about leaving his home by car. A man with a bandage around his head came to a police station. "I was hitchhiking when the car stopped. The driver asked me to check if one of the tires was flat. I bent over to look, and he hit me on the head. When I came to my senses, I found out he had taken all my money and cell phone. I remember he had a big car, large eyebrows, and a mustache." The police had a suspect. They found him in a cafe. But the man said it couldn't be him. He changed the tires on his car 2 weeks ago, and since then, the car had been parked near the cafe. The detective realized the man was lying right away. How? There's a no parking sign near the cafe. No car could be staying there for 2 weeks. Mr. and Mrs. Williams had to go on a business trip. It was a sudden and urgent matter. They didn't have time to take the money they had to the bank. That's why they decided to hide it under the doormat. When they returned, the money was gone. 3 people visited the apartment while the owners were away. The Williams' neighbor, he helped them fix the TV. A housekeeper came to clean the apartment, and an electrician visited to deal with some lighting problems. Who took the money? It was the housekeeper. She was the only person who had any reason to look under the doormat. Laura took part in an experiment. She was locked in a room and had to crack a riddle to get out of it. On the table, she found a note with the numbers 11, 69, 96, and 88. The girl needed to figure out what they had in common. Can you do the same? All these numbers can be read in the same way if you position them upside down. A man on a motorbike crashed Mr. Ruby's store window, grabbed a dozen expensive watches, and drove away. When the police arrived, Mr. Ruby told them he was almost sure it had been his nephew, Patrick. The officers went to visit the guy. Because of a heavy downpour, they got there in only an hour. Patrick was at home, together with his friend. "Look at the weather! I haven't been outside since yesterday." Patrick's friend confirmed his words. But the police didn't believe this story and arrested Patrick. Why? The guy's helmet is hanging on his motorbike. If it had been there since the previous day, it would be filled with rainwater now. Look at these 2 girls and their fridges. One of them has never had enough money until recently. A month ago, she won the lottery. Which girl is that? It's the girl on the left. High heels, a flashy dress, and a fridge filled to the brim. She looks like a person who has finally managed to get their hands on big money. Look at these people lounging near a swimming pool. They all seem to be wealthy, but in fact, only one of them is a millionaire. The girl sitting under the palm tree is wearing a lot of gold jewelry. But all this gold is fake. It leaves greenish marks on her body. The girl walking past the swimming pool is wearing sandals with a large logo on them. But the name of this brand is written wrong, so it's fake. The guy who's lying on the floating mattress is playing a game on his phone. But instead of an apple, there's a strawberry on his gadget. The man who's watering the plants is the millionaire we're looking for. There's a Mercedes keychain hanging out of his pocket. He also left a $100 tip for the waiter.
Look at the picture. How many squares do you see? A. 10. B. 5. C. 3. D. 6. You're right. There are 10 squares. You're supposed to count all the colors. Stephen had a dream of becoming a successful geologist and traveling the world. That's why he took a very difficult test and answered all the questions correctly. Professor Smith said he had one final question for Stephen. If the guy answered it correctly, he'd go on an exciting mountain expedition the following week. Mount Everest was discovered in 1852, but what was the highest mountain in the world before that? The next week, Stephen was proudly walking in the mountains with his colleagues. What did he say to the professor? Stephen said it was Mount Everest. It was still the highest mountain in the world, even though it hadn't been discovered yet. Jenny worked as a cleaning lady at a museum. Once, she found a beautiful diamond ring on a sink while she was cleaning the ladies' room. 3 people showed up to claim it. Tyler said he hadn't seen the ring after visiting the bathroom. He needed to get it back to propose to his girlfriend. Kelly showed Jenny a tan line on her finger and said it was her engagement ring. Leah just asked whether there was an engraving on the inside of the ring. Jenny decided that the ring belonged to Leah. Why? Kelly's tan line was on the wrong finger. Tyler wouldn't have been allowed into the ladies' room, and Leah was the only one who knew the ring had an engraving. Susie entered an elevator and pressed the 7th floor where she lived. Suddenly, the elevator got stuck between floors. Susie got anxious and hit the emergency button. The operator said, "I'll restart the elevator, but first, you have to solve my riddle." "What can you hold without touching it?" he asked. 1 minute later, Susie was on her floor. What did she say to the operator? Breath. You can hold it without using your hands. It belongs to your friend, but you use it way more than them. What is it? That's right, it's your friend's name. Alice was walking in a field and suddenly saw a white rabbit. She took a picture of the animal. Suddenly, the rabbit said, "Hey, I can show you where the treasures are hidden." Alice got very excited, but then her friend called her, and the rabbit ran away. When Alice returned to the field the next day, she saw 9 rabbits. They all kept silent. Can you help Alice find the right rabbit? It's over there, in the right corner. What substance is there in each mug? 1. It's not sugar or water. 2. It's not sugar or tea. 3. It's not tea or water. The first mug contains tea. The second mug contains water. And the third mug is full of sugar. Gemma overslept and arrived at her office an hour later than usual. She found a beautiful bouquet of roses on her table. Gemma got very excited when she saw a postcard tucked among the flowers. She reached for it and accidentally pricked her finger on a thorn. The card said the flowers were from a secret admirer. Gemma looked attentively at her 3 colleagues. Serge was on the phone. Will was printing out some documents. He winked at the girl, and Peter was making coffee. He offered Gemma to join him. At that moment, Gemma understood who had sent her the bouquet. How? It was Serge. He had a fresh scratch left by a thorn on his finger. Rotate it 90 degrees and it's everything. Cut it in half and it's nothing. What is it? When you cut 8 in half, it turns into 2 zeros. If you place it on the side, 8 turns into the infinity symbol. The more it dries, the wetter it gets. What is it? It's a towel. Tim loved his girlfriend Christy very much, so he went to a tattoo artist to get her name tattooed on his arm. But the artist turned out to be a crazy scientist. He used Tim's DNA to create 2 evil clones. When Christy came to the tattoo parlor to pick Tim up, she saw 3 identical guys. Help Christy determine which Tim is the real one. The guy on the left is the real Tim. He's the only one who has a tattoo. The clones aren't supposed to have any. How many months of the year have 28 days? All 12 months. Look at the picture. Which one is different? It's A. The color that should be at the top is at the bottom. Helen was a famous singer. When she was applying her makeup in the dressing room, her agent called her. He said that her song had become the main hit of the year. Helen told her assistant, Nick, "Hurry up, bring my best friend Lisa here. I want to celebrate." Nick came out of the dressing room and saw a crowd of fans in front of him. All of them wanted to get Helen's autograph. Nick asked, "Which one of you is Lisa?" Each girl claimed she was Lisa. Help Nick to identify the real Lisa. The real Lisa is wearing a necklace with the left half of the heart on her neck. It matches the one Helen is wearing.
Are you ready to train your brain with the help of these tricky brain teasers? Then let's get started. Look at these ladies and try to figure out who's not very smart. Even though the first woman looks as if she's about to touch a hot iron, the device is actually unplugged, so she won't hurt herself. The second lady, though, is about to touch a heated waffle maker. Oh no! John's parachute hasn't opened, and he's now plunging toward the ground. Does he have higher chances of survival if he falls into a lake or on a haystack? He should try to fall on a haystack. Do you see crocodiles hiding near the shore of the lake? What do you think is more dangerous in this situation? A bear or a swarm of bees? Look, the bear is about to run after its prey. It won't pay any attention to you. But bees seem to be angry. They'll most likely go after you. Look at these people. Who's most likely to survive? The man hanging over the fire? A woman tied over a barrel filled with toxic liquid? Or this guy swinging over a field of sharp needles? The woman hanging over the barrel with toxic liquid is the one who will survive. Look, there's a hole in the barrel, and the liquid is leaking out of it. The woman just needs to wait until the barrel is empty and untie herself. To get out of the locked room, Jeremy had to crack this puzzle. 1 equals 5, 2 equals 15, 3 equals 215, 4 equals 3215, 4 equals 3215, 5 equals... What number is hidden under the question mark? It's 1. 5 equals 1 because 1 equals 5. But the door of the room still didn't open. Apparently, Jeremy had to solve another riddle. He had to arrange 4 9s in such a way that they were equal to 100. He could use any math symbols. How can the guy do it? Jeremy figured out the correct answer pretty fast. 99 plus 9 divided by 9 equals 100. You're crossing a railroad bridge when you spot a train coming toward you. The bridge is built over a lake swarming with crocodiles, so jumping into the water is out of the question. How can you survive in this situation? You're farther away from the shore you came from and won't have enough time to get back to that side. So your only option is to run toward the train really fast and turn left or right when you cross the bridge. Jack is taking part in a challenge. He's reached the final stage, which takes place in a desert. If he succeeds now, he'll win $1 million. There are 4 pots in front of him. In each of them, there's a key. Jack needs to get any key from any pot. But on top of the first pot, there's a bowl filled with a strong acid. The second pot is covered with a bowl full of venomous spiders. In the bowl placed on the third pot, Jack sees a raging fire. A viper is curled up in the bowl, covering the fourth pot. Jack isn't allowed to drop the bowls or turn them over. Which pot should he choose? The guy should choose the third bowl. He can put the fire out with sand. He's in the desert after all, and get the key. David's company develops apps for smartphones. Right now, he's looking for a designer. He's got hundreds of resumes, but he's chosen just 3 of them. Angela's resume says, I'm 23 years old, I don't have a lot of experience, but I'm a fast learner and have already designed similar applications. Helen wrote in her resume, I'm 26 and have 4 years of work experience. You should hire me because I've created lots of TikTok stories that have gone viral. And Eric's resume claims he's 28 years old with 7 years of work experience. He's designed tons of apps and he's been working for Google since the company was launched. David can only hire 1 person, but it's okay because 1 applicant hasn't lied in their resume. Who is it? Eric has just 7 years of work experience, but Google was officially launched in 1998. There are no stories on TikTok, meaning Helen couldn't create them. David hired Angela, even though she hasn't been working for a long time. She's honest and has a nice portfolio.
Look at the pictures. Which of these people is a risk taker? The girl is risking less. She's sitting on the 2nd floor, and there's a pool below. The guy is risking more. The building he's sitting on is taller. You can see clouds and planes in the sky. What food can you never cheer up? A blueberry, because it's always blue. Haha. Okay, let's move on. There are 5 lemons in a bowl. You take away 3 of them. How many lemons do you have now? Well, you have the 3 lemons you took. King Gerald has a very beautiful daughter named Teresa. 4 princes from different countries came to the kingdom, hoping to marry the girl. But the king decided to check how smart they were and organized a special contest. Teresa was in the center of a 200 by 200 foot room. and the princes were standing on small boxes in each corner of the room. The first prince to touch Teresa's hand would become her husband, but they weren't allowed to leave their places or use anything but their hands or wits. One of the princes figured out what to do immediately. He married the princess. What did he do? He just asked Teresa to come over and touched her hand. You can easily find me on Earth, Mars, Mercury, and even Jupiter, but you'll never find me on the Moon, Venus, or Pluto. What am I? I'm the letter R. Manager George received an anonymous text message. It said a robber had just entered the supermarket where he worked. George hurried into the hall and saw 4 pregnant women in the grocery section. The man looked at the ladies attentively, detected the thief, and called the police. How did he know? The woman on the right is the only one who doesn't have a shopping basket or cart. She's putting groceries inside her fake belly. Imagine that you're in a room with no windows and no doors. How can you get out? Just stop imagining the room. Mrs. Victoria decided to give her grandson Rick an unusual gift for his 18th birthday. She called him into her room, showed the guy her safe, and handed him a corked bottle with a key inside.
Honey, this is the key to my safe. You can keep all the money you find there if you manage to open it, but you must take the key out without removing the cork or breaking the bottle. Good luck.
Rick accepted the challenge and started thinking about the puzzle. What would you do to get the key out? Push the cork into the bottle, and you'll easily get the key. Look at the picture. What's wrong here? The lady's reflection is holding the bag in the wrong hand. Amy had a crush on her neighbor. She went to the local witch, Sally, to ask for her help. Sally said she would make a purple love potion. On the night of the full moon, Sally took a sheet of paper with her granny's love potion recipe. She mixed all the ingredients except for the last one. Suddenly, a gust of wind threw the recipe into the fireplace. Sally was desperate. She didn't remember the name of the last ingredient, but she still knew for sure that the potion should be purple. Help Sally finish her work. She should add the blue ingredient. When you mix blue and red, they make purple. Harry and 3 other video bloggers traveled to a creepy canyon. They wanted to make a video about this mysterious place. They had been filming all day long. In the evening, they gathered around the fire, but it started to rain and everyone went to sleep in their tents. In the morning, Harry woke up, left his tent, and headed to the big bag with food to grab something for breakfast. That's when he discovered that all the food was gone. Harry got angry. He woke everyone up and interrogated the members of his team. Fred said he'd been looking at the starry sky all night. Jane said she'd been trying to catch a Wi-Fi signal to have a video chat with her boyfriend. And Sam said he'd been sleeping. Who is lying? It's Fred. It was raining at night, and he couldn't see any stars through the clouds. 2 students, Betty and Sarah, went for a walk after a very stressful test. They bought some coffee and candies and began to look for a picturesque spot for a picnic in the park. But suddenly, a guy in a mask grabbed Betty's bag and ran away. Sarah and Betty followed him. At one point, they saw a blind man sitting on a bench. He was wearing glasses and had a cane. The girls asked him if he'd seen a person in a mask carrying a female bag, but the man said he couldn't have seen anyone because he was blind. Sarah got very embarrassed, handed him a candy, and thanked him for his help. Then the girl took Betty aside and whispered that the blind man was the robber. They needed to call the police. Betty was very surprised. Why did Sarah decide the man was the robber? If the man was indeed blind, he wouldn't have seen the candy. Will's mother has 3 sons, Fred, Peter, and... Will. It's Will's mother, after all.
The guys reached their destination. The treehouse is even better than in the photo, but can you spot anything weird in this picture? This raccoon is wearing sunglasses. The owner of the treehouse, Bob, lives in another country, and the house is located 15 miles away from the village and other people. That's why Bob installed a special digital clock on the door. When Henry booked the property, Bob gave him a 6-digit password. But unfortunately, Henry had lost it. Here's a hint. M80. Can you help the guy crack the code? These symbols are mirrored digits. Split them apart and you'll get the code 1133CC. The guys unlocked the door. But as soon as Mia entered the living room, she got very scared. She asked Henry to call the police. Why? The treehouse is in the middle of nowhere. Who lit the candles and the fire? The house was locked. Henry checked all the rooms, but found no clues. What about you? Any ideas who that could be? That roof window is open. Someone crawled inside the house before the guy's arrival, and now that someone is hiding under the bed. See? The guys called the police. Officers promised to arrive within an hour. Mia decided to take a shower. When she returned to the living room, she realized that Henry had disappeared. Mia searched the garden, then checked all the rooms in the house, and returned to the garden again. But she failed to find any clues. Can you help her? The hot tub was open when Mia began her search, but now it's closed. Pretty suspicious. Mia was walking through the garden. Suddenly, a man in a mask popped out of nowhere and pushed her. Mia stepped on a trap and fell into a deep well. She yelled, "Please help me out!" No one answered, but Mia's phone pinged. The masked man offered her to play a game. Otherwise, she'd have to stay in the well forever. Here's the first riddle. I come in many different colors, and I get bigger when I'm full. I will float away if you don't tie me down, and I will make a loud sound if I break. What am I? Mia nailed it immediately. What about you? The correct answer is a balloon. Here's the second question. I can jump and I can climb. With many legs, I swing from tree to tree. I can make a house much bigger than me. What am I? Have you guessed? It's a spider. And the final question. I come out at night without being called. I'm lost in the day without being stolen. What am I? Can you help Mia? The correct answer is a star. A hatch opened at the bottom of the well. Mia went through it and got into a creepy basement. There, she found 3 ways to freedom, but every door hid some danger. A fire-breathing dragon was sleeping behind the first door. The corridor behind the second door was filled with high-voltage wires. And a vampire was waiting behind the third door. Suddenly, a message appeared on the screen of the girl's phone. "Hurry up! Soon the walls will close in and smash you." Which way should Mia choose? She should wait until the walls are close enough so that she can scare the vampires away with this stake and go through the third door. When the police arrived at the treehouse, they found Mia and Henry at the porch. Henry had just woken up. The robbers had put sleeping pills in his coffee. The officers searched the area and found some clues. They concluded that the criminals were planning to leave the country by train. Unfortunately, no one knew what they looked like or how big the group was, so they stopped 4 suspicious people at the railway station and examined their baggage. Can you figure out who's innocent? Why would a bald man need shampoo? And this supposedly blind person has a flashlight. This guy is carrying 3 tubes of toothpaste, but no single toothbrush. It seems that only the third guy isn't a criminal. 3 friends lived not far from one another and often met to drink some coffee together. Their names were Mr. Blue, Mr. Red, and Mr. White. One day, they noticed that under their coats, they were wearing t-shirts of different colors: red, blue, and white. Mr. Blue said, "Hey, Mr. White, have you noticed that we're all wearing colors that are different from our actual names?" The man wearing the white shirt answered, "Wow, you're right." Can you figure out the shirt of which color each of them was wearing? Mr. Blue can only be wearing white or red, but we've already learned that someone else is wearing the white shirt. That means that Mr. Blue can only be wearing the red shirt, and Mr. White can only be wearing a blue or red shirt. And the red shirt is already taken, so Mr. White is wearing the blue shirt. Then Mr. Red is wearing the white shirt. One summer night, Emily threw a big party. But in the morning, she discovered that someone had stolen all her jewelry and money.
Oh no!
The police have 3 suspects: Daniel, Emily's boyfriend, Lily, her best friend, and Hannah, the girl's sister. Daniel told the police that he'd been playing computer games with his friend all night long. Lily felt sick and went home in the middle of the night. She said she knew nothing about the theft when the police called her. And Hannah said that she had stayed at the party till 7 a.m. and then had taken a taxi home because nobody could give her a lift. It was dark and she couldn't see anything. Who was lying? Hannah. At 7 a.m. in the summer, it's already light outside. One day, a famous soccer coach went missing right from the changing rooms. The police had 3 suspects, and all of them were from his team. Brandon said that after the training, he'd stayed on the pitch to practice a bit more. He hadn't been to the changing room yet. Andrew swore that after the training, he had gone outside to meet with his girlfriend. And James said, "When I was leaving the changing room, the coach was still there." Who's behind the disappearance of the coach? It's Brandon. He said he hadn't been to the changing room yet. But look, he's wearing not his uniform, but his street clothes. Once, a mad professor kidnapped Zoe and held her in his house. Was he planning to experiment on her? There was no way the young woman could escape. But one day, the scientist got bored.
"You'll have to make breakfast for me tomorrow. If I like it, I'll let you go. If not, no one will hear about you again."
In the morning, Zoe went to the kitchen and started cooking. But when she turned away from the stove, the scientist threw a whole box of salt into the pot. However, when Zoe served him breakfast, he realized he had to set the girl free. Can you figure out what Zoe cooked? The girl boiled eggs. A man on a motorbike crashed into the window of Mr. Ruby's store, grabbed several expensive watches, and drove away. When the police arrived, Mr. Ruby told them that he was almost sure it had been his nephew, Patrick. The officers went to visit the guy. Because of a heavy downpour, it took them 1 hour to get there. Patrick was at home, together with his friend. "Look at the weather. I haven't been outside since yesterday." Patrick's friend confirmed his words, but the police didn't believe their story and arrested Patrick. Why? The guy's helmet is hanging on his motorbike. If it had been there since the previous day, it would have been filled with rainwater by now. 4 friends went to a cafe together. 2 of them, Linda and Mike, ordered a large pot of blueberry tea. Kirsten took some lemonade, and Oscar opted for orange juice. Half an hour later, Linda and Mike lost consciousness and were rushed to a hospital. When the police analyzed the tea they had drunk, they found poison in it. The main suspects were, of course, Kirsten and Oscar. Why didn't they drink the tea? Kirsten said that she didn't like tea with berries, and Oscar explained that he was allergic to blackberries. Who is the culprit? It's Oscar. He said he was allergic to blackberries, but the tea his friends drank was with blueberries. David worked at a construction site. Once, someone attacked him, and the unconscious man was taken to a hospital. Police officers who arrived to investigate the case had 3 suspects who also worked at the construction site: Alex, Ryan, and John. Alex said, "I was putting all towels on the roof when the accident happened." Ryan confessed that he'd been sleeping under the tree, and John claimed that he'd been laying bricks at that time. Can you figure out who's lying? Alex was the one to hurt David. The building has no roof yet, so he couldn't be putting tiles up there. You've bought a cute little rabbit at a pet store. The animal can breed every 2 months, and every time it will deliver 5 babies. How many rabbits will you have in a year? You'll have just 1 rabbit. If you want to have little bunnies, you have to buy 2 rabbits. Look at these people attentively. Who is a mer person? Pay attention to every little detail. Most of the show had disappeared, together with the prize. The police managed to log into the computer in his office. They saw that the host had sent this message to his girlfriend. It looked like the host had told his girlfriend where he was going. The police went to the airport, but which flight was the host going to catch? Can you figure it out? Now let's see, the first 2 letters of Atlas are AT. If we take 3 letters from the word land, it'll leave us with LAN. And the 2 first letters of tattoo are TA. Together, these letters make up the word Atlanta. Hurry to the gate, officers! Jack got lost in the woods. Suddenly, he saw a castle. The man rushed there and was greeted by the owner of the castle.
You have to answer just 1 question. If you win, I'll show you the way out of the forest. But if you lose, you'll never leave my castle.
Jack agreed. The owner asked,
There are 4 mirrors on the wall. One of them reflects fire-spitting dragon Niren. The second, beautiful mermaid Laura. In the 3rd mirror, you can see a terrifying vampire Sam. And in the 4th, unicorn David. You have to figure out which reflection isn't real, and fast.
The reflection of Vampire Sam isn't real. Vampires can't be reflected in mirrors. A businessman arrived at his office after a long trip and discovered that some important documents had disappeared from his desk. He immediately called the police, and a detective arrived shortly after. After interviewing all the workers, he had a list with 3 suspects on it. They were Emma, the accountant, Sophia, the receptionist, and James, a sales manager. But each of these people claimed that they hadn't even been inside the businessman's office. Still, it didn't take long until the detective figured out who was lying. Can you do the same? The thief is James. Both women wear high heels in the office, but the footprints on the floor are obviously left by sneakers. You throw me when you need me and pick me up when you don't need me. Can you figure out what I am? Right you are. I'm an anchor. How can you increase 66 by 1.5 if you aren't allowed to make any mathematical operations? Hurry up and crack this riddle. Just turn 66 upside down. It was Mr. and Mrs. Smith's wedding anniversary, and Mrs. Smith was going to put on diamond earrings her husband had presented her for their wedding. But when she opened her jewelry box, she saw that the earrings weren't there. She called her daughters, Dora and Laura. I've told you so many times not to touch my things. Who took my jewelry this time? Dora exclaimed, I haven't touched your jewelry box. Laura also denied taking her mom's stuff. I don't even wear earrings. Can you figure out which girl is lying? It was Laura who stole the earrings. Her mom didn't specify which piece of jewelry was missing.
They say seeing is believing, but is it really? Optical illusions have a mind-boggling way to trick our brains. They use a combination of color, light, or particular patterns that can make us see things that aren't there. Today, we're taking our brains for a test drive and seeing how these illusions work. Let's start easy. Behind all of these little black dots, there's an image. Are you part of the 1% of people that can see it? It's a minion. Congrats if you spotted that. Here's another one in this style. Can you see what's hidden here? It's a ninja turtle. Honestly, you did need to be a bit of a ninja to see that one. And what about this one? It's Homer Simpson. So now there's something hidden behind black stripes. How's your X-ray vision working? You got it if you said it's one of the dragons from How to Train Your Dragon. That's cute. We're moving on to phase 2, so this will get a little bit trickier, okay? Your task is to find the 4th object in each image. You have 7 seconds to spot all 4 items. 3, 2, 1, go! Did anyone find the straw by any chance? Anyways, could you spot the nail? What was hardest for you to find? The egg or the button? So now we're going to step up our game. This is medium level difficulty and you'll have 7 seconds to find all 4 items. Ready? Go! Did anyone find the French fries? I sure didn't. Up next, 4 women and a baby. Yikes, this is hard. Could anyone spot the hair comb? Here's another one for you. Where on earth was that banana hiding? Good luck with this next one. So the envelope is hiding behind the bathroom pipe. I love black and white. But I'm still searching for that white egg, if you ask me. If this were my room, my mom would be telling me to clean it up ASAP. It took me a while to find that little birdie, but the mission was successful. Good morning, y'all. Oh, bummer, I couldn't find the book, could you? What object can't you find here? I had trouble locating the brush. Too many details, too little time. I have to say, you do have a pretty good eye for detail, but we're changing the game now. You know what they say. You need to keep changing the stimulus to make your brain work better and better. So now, it's emoji time. You'll have 4 seconds in this round. Did you see that one of them didn't have laughing tears? Where's the really sad emoji? And here I was thinking that clowns were supposed to be happy. I guess we all have our bad days, huh? What about this one? Oh, it's the browless one, isn't it? Can you spot the odd one? Oh, so it's a dairy-free burger. There's one with a different grin on its face. That's the one. I think your eyes are pretty warmed up now. So we'll move on to some hard-level optical illusions, okay? This first one is called the impossible triangle. But wait, what makes it so impossible? You have 7 seconds to figure that out. The so-called Penrose triangle is also known as the impossible triangle because it could never exist in reality. This magical triangle defies the laws of Euclidean geometry. If you follow the ball sliding on the surface of the triangle from the top point, you'll notice something strange. It looks like the left side of the triangle is extending away from the viewer, while the right side is closer to you. The Penrose triangle is the type of geometrical figure that can only exist as an optical illusion because this is what it looks like if we dismember it. Not a triangle at all, huh? And this next illusion is called the Pac-Man Chaser. You'll see why. Stare at the central cross for 5 seconds. The image appears to be in motion, doesn't it? And you might also see a green disc appear in between the lilac spheres from time to time. Now, this image allows us to witness 2 illusions simultaneously. Firstly, although the image appears to be in continuous motion, nothing here is moving, we promise. This phenomenon is known as the phi phenomenon. It happens when stationary objects are placed side by side and illuminated rapidly one after another, creating an illusion of movement. Now look at the center of the image again. Can you see the green disc? This second illusion is called an afterimage, and this happens when your brain tries to substitute an item with something else as the original item disappears. But why is it green, you might ask? That's because green is lilac's complementary color. If we were to change the color of the disc to blue, then the color of the gap changes to yellow, which is blue's complementary color. Neat, right? Can you stare at this parrot's eye for 15 seconds? Just keep staring at it. I'll tell you when you can close your eyes. You're about to witness another example of an afterimage. 3, 2, 1, and close your eyes. Can you see a red parrot? Isn't it amazing that even though this parrot is black and white, you have the illusion of seeing the color red? Again, this is just your brain trying to guess the color of something. Don't these snakes move beautifully? Except that, they're actually stationary. This classic optical illusion is caused by repeating asymmetrical patterns together with specific color schemes. The illusion mixes lighter colors like yellow and white with darker shades of blue and black. This combination makes your retina send signals to your brain, claiming that these circles are moving. If you want to debunk this illusion and see things as they really are, you need to stare straight at one part of the image. This way, you'll see that the rotation will slowly come to a stop. Take a look at this image. It looks like the square in the middle is breathing, right? Like it's growing in size and then shrinking? What if I told you that it's just rotating, but not changing its size? Here's what's happening. This illusion is called motion binding. It happens when our brain tries to predict the movement of one of the elements in the image. Crazy stuff! This one's another example of a motion binding illusion. These 4 bars seem to be moving in parallel with each other, right? Wrong! They are all part of the same moving square. Here's what's happening behind the scenes. Our brain just gets confused. How many bars can you count here? This illusion has left the internet baffled. People have counted as many as 11 bars, but most people count between 8 and 7 bars. According to the creator of this image, there are only 6 complete bars. Try counting from top to bottom, and you'll notice that the upper bars are real. But by the time you get to the 6th bar, things start to get blurry and confusing. That's because the last 2 bars are incomplete. So when you try making them out, they appear to multiply and only leave you more confused. If you trace your pointer down the 7th and 8th bars, you'll be able to see that they are incomplete. They were only put there to confuse you. Can you tell if the dark blue lines are parallel to each other or inclined? They sure look crooked, but in reality they are not. This classic optical illusion was first described over 100 years ago, but it wasn't until the 1970s that it got its current name, the cafe wall illusion. A guy named Steve Simpson noticed a similar effect on the wall of a cafe in Bristol, and here we are. Now let's see how this works. First, let's blur the image a little bit. Oh, a little bit more. There you go. This way you'll be able to see that the dark blue lines are parallel to each other. If you look closely, the little black and white bricks at the intersection of wide lines are what makes this illusion possible. In addition to that, the curved elements inside the blue lines help to make the elusive effect even stronger. If you look at this image attentively, you'll notice a moving square that appears to be changing in tone. What shades do you see? Dark, then light, then dark again? Wrong. The square doesn't change at all. The creator of this illusion is Japanese psychologist and artist Akiyoshi Kitaoka. According to him, you can see your own brain changing its guess about the color of the square. Color is already an illusion created by our brains. It so happens that color is created inside our visual systems. What our eyes perceive as blue is actually a wavelength that is reflected as that color. Moving on, take a look at this staircase. It looks pretty simple, right? Well, now let's flip the image upside down. It still looks like a staircase, but instead of going from right to left, it looks like it's going from left to right. But don't blink. If you blink, the illusion will disappear, and you will be left with the original image. Whoa. This illusion is known as Schroeder's staircase, and it was invented by German scientist Heinrich Schroeder back in 1858. It's simple, yet it reveals a fundamental mechanism of how our brain works. If we dismember the staircase, you'll notice that the image is flat. What our brain perceives as a 3D image is just a combination of shadow and light. This means that the 3D itself is already an optical illusion. This happens because our brain captures images and tries to fit them into what it already knows. So it sees a shadow in a 2D image and understands depth. Basically, it creates an unreal perspective of the object in front of our eyes. In this case, we call it a 3-dimensional perspective. Up next, look at this black square crisscrossed with perpendicular white lines. If you look attentively, you'll notice that the white dots, situated at the intersection of the grid, shift their color from white to gray and back. When you concentrate on a particular dot, you see that it's white, but as soon as your attention wanders, the dot turns gray. That's the Hermann grid illusion. Amazing, isn't it? We can take this illusion one step further by positioning white dots at the intersection of gray lines. All are placed on top of the black background. If you look at this image long enough, you'll notice black dots starting to pop up at the intersections of the grid, creating a scintillating effect. Another name for this illusion is a simultaneous light contrast illusion. As you perceive the dots as white at one moment, and then, almost immediately, you see them as black. So why do our senses let us down by making us see gray or black instead of white? This illusion demonstrates one of the most important principles of human perception. You don't always see things for what they are. The retinal cells in our eyes act as light receptors. When only one receptor gets illuminated, it perceives more light than when its colleagues are also illuminated. This prevents the firing of nearby receptors. With the Hermann grid illusion, the white lines are arranged in such a way that there's more light around the intersections than along the lines themselves. Thus, the dots at the intersections are more inhibited, and you see darker spots. What do you say? Did your eyes pass the test? I guess mine did, but my brain is a little bit tired. See you next time. Detective Smith was called to investigate a burglary at the city's museum. A priceless diamond disappeared and the thief left no trace behind. After analyzing the museum's security cameras, Detective Smith gathered 3 suspects: the security guard, the museum's curator, and a visitor. The security guard said he only left his post during lunchtime, and he could swear that the diamond still wasn't missing at that time. The museum curator spent the day guiding a tour of the museum for a foreign group. They came to see the diamond at the beginning of the tour, and it was still shining bright in its place. The visitors said he only popped in for a quick visit and didn't even pass through the Metzi aisle where the diamond was kept. After these 3 interviews, Detective Smith found the thief. Can you tell who it was? It was the visitor. First of all, he knew the exact location of the diamond inside the museum. Plus, take a look at that string he is fiddling with in his left hand. Detective Smith pulled it from under his sleeve and voila! The diamond was attached to it. I guess he didn't have time to go home and get rid of the diamond, huh? Julie and her friends decided to spend the weekend at a cabin in the woods. They arrived on Friday evening and spent the night playing board games and telling spooky stories. When they woke up on Saturday morning, they found that someone had stolen all their food supply. The door's glass was shattered, but other than that, there were no signs of who could have done it. So, the group decided to search the surrounding woods to see if they could find the culprit. Take a good look at the scene the group stumbled upon, and see if you can find out who took their food. What's that at the upper left corner? Those look like bear footprints, huh? And not just one, but rather an entire family of bears. Oh, and they even left an Oreo wrapper on the ground as evidence. Yep, these grizzlies were the culprits for sure. On a snowy winter afternoon, Dr. Brown was resting in front of the fireplace. Suddenly, somebody threw a snowball at his window. The hit was so strong that the glass shattered. Dr. Brown stood up just in time to see 3 neighborhood boys running away. They were brothers with the names John Smith, Mark Smith, and Dave Smith. The next day, a paper note was left on Dr. Brown's door. There it was written, "Smith, he threw the snowball." Dr. Brown immediately knew which brother had done it. Can you figure it out too? It was Mark. You see, the note said, "Question Mark Smith. He threw the snowball." But the boys were clever and put a bar instead to test Dr. Brown's detective abilities. A man carrying 2 bags of sand crosses Genovia's border every day on a bicycle. Every time, customs officers stop and search him to see if he's trying to smuggle anything illegal. But the officers can't find any proof that the man is a smuggler. The man laughs and crosses the border successfully, smuggling an item per trip. Can you figure out what he's smuggling? That's easy. He's a bicycle smuggler. He distracts the guards with 2 bags of sand. But every day he is crossing the Genovian border with a new bicycle. Smart guy, huh? Mrs. Pinkface is the world's fastest robber. She works alongside the criminal mastermind Zebra Mask. But Mrs. Pinkface was recently caught and put in jail. She and her partner in crime had already set up a plan in case this happened. Zebra Mask will pass outside the prison fence and send Pinkface a signal. 45 seconds after the signal, he will turn off the electric fence, giving her a few seconds to make her prison break. The thing is, Pinkface doesn't have a clock. She only has a lighter and 2 fuses. The fuses are flammable, and she knows they both burn for precisely 1 minute. They won't burn evenly, so if she cuts them in half, one side might burn for 40 seconds, while the other burns for 20 seconds. How can Pinkface use the fuses to time exactly 45 seconds and make her unique prison break? Here's the key insight. If Pinkface lights the same fuse on both ends simultaneously, it will burn out in precisely 30 seconds. To time the last 15 seconds, she will have to light the second fuse. She can light both ends of the first fuse at the same time to time 30 seconds and light the end of the second fuse. When the first fuse burns out, she'll know 30 seconds of the second fuse is also burnt. So, by lighting the other end of the second fuse, she'll be able to time 45 seconds and make her jailbreak. You just came back from a long holiday trip. You bought a new suitcase to store all the new things you got. But when arriving home, you forgot the code to open it. Luckily, you left yourself a note on your cell phone to help you decipher the code of the lock. 682. 1 digit is right and in its place. 614. 1 digit is right but in the wrong place. 206. 2 digits are right but both are in the wrong place. 768. All digits are wrong. 380. 1 digit is right but in the wrong place. What's the 3-digit code? (042). Friday morning started busy in Somerville. The police station got a call saying that a woman had just robbed a bank and was seen entering Sunset Elementary School. The police chief hurried over to the school and found there were 2 teachers present that morning. He immediately knew which teacher was the thief. Can you tell who it was? Take a look at the second teacher. Andy, the mission chief, said he put the piece of rock inside a safe, located in the storage room. The next morning, he went to the storage room to put on his astronaut suit, and noticed that the safe was open. And oh no, the rock was missing. NASA conducted an online investigation to find out who the thief was. Paula said she wasn't feeling well the day before, so she spent the day in her room. James said he spent the previous day fixing a broken solar panel outside the spaceship and didn't see anything. Rebecca spent the previous 24 hours talking to NASA's Space Center to resolve a problem. Can you tell who is lying? It's James. If he went outside to check on solar panels, he first needed to go into the storage room to put on his spacesuit. Plus, there's a rock-shaped item in his left pocket. He must be the culprit. Tuesday morning, Amy got a call from her boss, Tom. He was in distress because a very important document had disappeared from his office. It had been on the desk the evening before, but nowhere to be found in the morning. Amy immediately went there to question the employees. She soon gathered 3 suspects. Elijah said he had spent the previous evening at the movies. Mason had taken his girlfriend to dinner, and Evelyn had visited an art gallery. It didn't take long for Amy to understand who was lying. Why? It was Elijah. Take a close look at his ticket. The date is for Sunday and not the night before. This means he's probably the one lying. Peter was lost in the woods when he encountered an evil magician. The magician cast a spell on him that transported Peter to an empty room inside a huge tower. To make things worse, the evil sorcerer put the tower on fire. The room Peter was in had no doors and only a small window. Thankfully, he found 3 magic potions that could maybe help him escape. If he drank the first potion, he would get incredible physical strength. If he chose the second potion, he could summon any animal he wanted to help him. And if he drank the last potion, he would turn into a vampire. Which potion should Peter choose? Well, no animal could help him escape the tower, and even if he had all the strength in the world, he wouldn't be able to beat the fire. But if he turned into a vampire, then he could transform into a bat and fly away through the little window. So the third bottle it is. Katie got lost in the desert. She walked for hours when suddenly she came across a huge oasis. But to reach the main waterfall, where she could drink some water, she had to cross a bridge. There were 3 bridges leading to the same place. The first bridge was far from the ground, and its rope looked like it could rip at any second. The second bridge had some hungry-looking alligators crawling on it. The last bridge stood above a lake full of poisonous water plants. Which bridge should she choose? The last one. The bridge stands above a poisonous lake, but she won't touch the water when crossing it. Rupert was working in his office when a huge power shortage turned off all the lights in the building. He heard footsteps approaching behind him, and the next thing he knew, he was feeling dizzy. Rupert passed out and woke up in a tiny room that had nothing other than a metallic door. He tried to open the door, but it was locked. He noticed that beside the door, there was a little device where a red sign appeared, asking for a password. Below the device, there was a piece of paper with the following hint: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Rupert read the note aloud several times before he finally figured out what the password was. Can you guess what password he typed into the device? He typed in 1 time the number 2, 3 times the number 4, 5 times the number 6, and 7 times the number 8. Phew, that wasn't obvious, huh? Bill and Jonah found themselves stuck inside the cavern of the Great Genie. There was nothing there but a wall with 3 buttons. There was a red button, a yellow one, and a green. Somewhere on the floor, they found a note that read, TDUPT RNOR EHEBSSTE. They clicked one of the buttons and managed to open a hidden door on the wall. Which button did they choose? The red button. They unscrambled the words on the note and discovered it read, "Press the red button." Miss Taylor is the owner of a boutique that produces and sells expensive ceramics. On a Friday, when the working week was almost finished, she went to deposit the day's money inside the safe and was shocked to find out it was all gone. Someone had stolen it. Miss Taylor suspected it should have been one of her workers. She asked each one of them what they had been doing that day. Sloane, a sales manager, said she had been prospecting for new clients. Jake, the potter, said he always made 1 cup a day, and he showed all the cups he had done that week. Lily, the designer, said she had been working, but she also admitted she hadn't been really productive that day because of some family issues. Who lied? Jake. There are 5 working days in a regular week. The man said he made 1 mug a day, but he only showed 4 mugs. It means he missed 1 day of work. Probably the day he used to steal Miss Taylor's money.
So, riddle me this. Amanda loved cats very much. One day, she visited an acquaintance and met her lovely Persian cat. Amanda asked her acquaintance how old the cat was. Well, in 2 years, Luna will be twice as old as she was 5 years ago. Amanda nodded and continued petting the cat. And did you understand how old the animal was? Luna is 12 years old. That's an old kitty. Look at these three friends. They seem to have gotten into a trap. They're hanging upside down in the air with their legs tied. On the ground, under the blonde girl's head, there are several venomous snakes. Under the head of the girl with red hair, a fire is burning. And on the ground, under the guy, there are a couple of scorpions. How can these guys escape? See that black cloud with lightning? It's going to start raining. The rainwater will put out the fire under the girl with red hair. And look, the girl has a knife tucked under her belt. She can cut the rope tying her legs. And when she's on the ground, she can help the other two. Hannah was running a marathon. Right before the finish line, she outran the person who was running in second place. The woman was happy she was going to win. But in a few seconds, she got very disappointed. Why? Hannah was still the second best. She was faster than the second person, not the first. Olivia was a secret agent on a mission. At one point during the mission, she had to get into a room with ancient artifacts. But to enter, she needed to choose between two doors. In front of them, there were two guards. Soon, Olivia realized that one guard always lied and the other always told the truth. One door was safe to open and the other hid a terrible danger. The secret agent could only ask one guard one question to figure out which door she needed to go through. What question should it be? Olivia should ask, if I asked the other guard which door was safe to open, what would he say? Both guards will point at the door that hides some danger. The lying guard, because he's, well, always lying, and the guard who tells the truth, because that's what the lying guard would tell Olivia. So the woman just needs to open the other door. Liza was working as a teaching assistant at a college. One day, she had to look after a group of students who were writing an exam. Liza knew some of them were going to cheat, and indeed, soon after the exam started, the girl spotted one person who was cheating. Who is it? It's the guy in the back of the classroom. He's got the answers written on his ruler. Can you figure out which of these two watches is real and which is just a toy? The watch on the left is a toy. Look at its minute hand. It's too long and won't be able to pass all the way around the watch face. In a small village, there were 4 people who were suspected of being werewolves. One night, the village held a meeting to decide which of them was the monster. Here's what the suspects look like. This person has long, sharp fingernails and is known for being able to run extremely fast. This person has long, sharp teeth and is known for being able to see in the dark. This person has wild, unkempt hair and is known for being able to jump high. And this person has a deep growling voice and is known for being able to smell things from far away. Can you figure out which of them is the werewolf? Suspect B is the werewolf. The description of long, sharp teeth and being able to see in the dark are both typical characteristics of werewolves in mythology and folklore. While the other suspects have unusual traits as well, they are not necessarily associated with werewolves. Joe has a friend, Lucas, who never answered any questions directly. Once, Joe sent Lucas a message inviting him to join their common friends in a cafe. Lucas's answer was kind of weird. Sorry, no money, JOBINJOB. Luckily, Joe knew his friend well enough to understand what he meant. But can you figure it out? Lucas meant he had no money because he was in between jobs. Look at this bizarre wedding. What do you think? Why are these people, who are about to get married, wearing black balaclavas? Look, there are cameras on the walls. This couple must be hiding their identities. 3 friends went for a walk in a forest. People said a wizard lived there, and he wasn't a kind, friendly person. But our guys didn't believe these rumors. Everyone knows magic doesn't exist. Suddenly, a wall of fire blocked their way. Look at the things the friends have and try to figure out what they can use to put the fire out. They could use this bucket to bring some water from that puddle, but it wouldn't be enough to put out such a large fire. This hose is useless, there's nothing to attach it to. The friends should choose this spade and use soil to put the fire out. You're in a forest. Suddenly, it starts raining. You notice a cave and hide there. But as soon as you get inside, the opening behind you closes. There are 3 tunnels in front of you, and one of them leads to freedom. But the first tunnel is full of crocodiles that haven't eaten in 2 years. In the second tunnel, there is a hungry lion that hasn't had any food in 2 weeks. And the third tunnel leads to a scorching hot desert. Which tunnel should you choose? You should wait until the desert cools down at night and follow the third tunnel. As for crocodiles, yes, these animals can indeed live without food for up to 2 years. Lions can also survive for 2 weeks without eating anything. But before you get a chance to leave the cave, you hear some deafening noise. It's a landslide. The tunnels end up blocked, but you now see 3 other passages. A fire-breathing, wait, is it a dragon? Is guarding the first passage. The second passage is filled with hundreds of poisonous cacti growing there. Their spines are covered with an extremely toxic substance. And in the third tunnel, you can see the red eyes of some very hungry wolves. Which tunnel can lead you to safety? You should choose the tunnel with the cacti. At least they can't move. And if you're careful, you'll be able to walk around the cacti without touching their spines. One morning, Donna came to the office and found a box of chocolates on her desk. There was also a strange note. Can you help Donna understand who presented her the sweets? Her secret admirer is Ryan. Those are not dates. The number actually means the needed letter in the name of the month. A man told his boss, "Don't take your planned flight today. I had a dream last night that if you do, it might end badly. Your plane will crash." The boss fired the man. Can you figure out why? The man was a night watchman. He should have been on duty the previous night, not dreaming. Jacob and Mark decided to go on a camping trip. Look at the things they're going to take with them and say what they should leave at home. A small hint, try to think outside the box. Look, a tent, game, rice, lamp. All of these words consist of 4 letters. But a chair? This word has 5 letters. The friends should leave it at home. A man went around the world in a ship, and still he was always in sight of land. How is it possible? The man was in a spaceship orbiting Earth. Hannah's birthday is on January 23rd, but she always celebrates it in the summer. Why? Hannah lives in the southern hemisphere. There, January is one of the hottest months of the year. Hey, nice job!
Hey, ready for some Valentine's Day riddles? Look at these three guys. Which of them is going on a date tonight?
Hello.
It must be this one. He has a little wrapped present, probably for his date. Now let's peek inside a restaurant. Which of the three girls is on a date? It's this one. Look, there are roses and two sets of dishes on the table. So she's not alone, and it's something romantic. My money is on her. This is Allison, and one of these three young men is her boyfriend. Can you tell who? It's this one. Look, they have matching tattoos. Take a look at these two proposals. Which one of them is fake? This one. Look, the guy has a ring. He's clearly already married. It was Friday evening, and Mark was waiting for his girlfriend to get back from work. He prepared dinner and was about to propose. His girlfriend came back home with flowers. Do you think she was on a date with someone? No, she wasn't. Look outside. The same flowers grow in their garden. She just picked some before entering the house. On Valentine's Day, Annika found a love note on her desk. Unfortunately, the note wasn't signed, but she had 3 suspects. So she asked each of them if they had written her a note. Dylan said, "I was busy finishing my math homework before class." Connor said, "I was hanging out with my buddies outside." And Luke said, "I was in the bathroom and I just returned." Who wrote Annika the letter? It was Luke. Look, his hands are covered in red ink. That's the color used in the letter. Also, if he had really been to the bathroom, his hands would be clean. On Valentine's Day, Jess found a note in her locker. But the note was weird. It was just a sequence of random letters. Or was it some code? Can you help Jess read the note and figure out who sent it to her? Of course it's a code. Look, there are 5 groups of letters with 5 letters in each group. Let's put them into a 5 by 5 table. And now, we need to read this vertically, column by column. Will you go out with me, Colton? So where's that Colton? Michelle was hosting a Valentine's Day party. She invited all her school friends, and everyone was allowed to bring a +1. Either their significant other or a single friend. In the middle of the party, she noticed that her cousin was in the garden talking to some girl, but it was dark and she couldn't tell which girl it was. She just saw that the girl had long hair. When her cousin returned, she knew immediately who he was interested in. Here are 3 girls with long hair. Who was outside with Michelle's cousin? Look, Michelle's cousin has a lipstick stain. The girl must have left it, and this girl right here is wearing lipstick of the same shade. On a cold, rainy night, Damon was driving past a bus stop. There were 3 people there waiting for their bus. An elderly lady who looked sick, a doctor who had saved many lives, and Addison, a girl Damon had a crush on for years. Unfortunately, there was only room for 1 more person in his car. What should Damon do? He should give his car to the doctor, who would then take the lady to the hospital. And Damon can stay at the bus stop waiting for the bus with the girl of his dreams, looking like a hero in her eyes.
Yeah.
Let's take a little break now. Have you seen any romantic movies? Well, I hope so, because I'll be showing you some emojis, and your task will be to guess what romantic movie they stand for. Okay, here's the first very easy one. Of course, that's Titanic. Here's the next one. Nothing much, but it should be clear. Do you know this movie? It's The Notebook. What about this one? A relatively recent remake was a great success. It's Before Sunrise. The next set of emojis illustrates another very well-known love story. Can you guess it right? It's La La Land, of course. Here's the last one. It's an oldie but a goodie. What do you think? Everyone's favorite, The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind with Kate Winslet and Jim Carrey. It was Valentine's Day, and Nicole wanted to put a little present in the locker of the student she had a crush on. Unfortunately, she didn't know the code. Luckily for her, the owner of the locker was forgetful too, so there was a note with a hint. Can you figure out the combination? Each number is the number of lines in the respective letter. There is just one line in I, 4 lines in M, 3 in H, and 2 in T. So, following the same logic, there are 4 lines in E, 2 in L, 2 in V, and 3 in Z. So the combination is 4, 2, 2, 3. Okay, here's another code for you to crack. This time, you need to help Eric. He wants to get his wife a nice Valentine's Day gift, but he is absolutely clueless about what she wants. So, the plan is to break into her computer, check her shopping cart, and get something from there. The problem is that the computer requires a passcode, and the man doesn't know it. Luckily, there's a note on the desk, so he types in 6198. But the passcode is wrong. Can you figure out what the correct passcode is? The note is just turned upside down. Eric should try typing in 8619 instead. Kennedy works in the emergency room. It's Valentine's Day and there's a patient who felt unwell during a college party. Kennedy leaves the room because she needs to talk to the patient's girlfriend. She was at the party with him. Which young woman should she approach? Who is the guy's date? Keep in mind that the couple was at a party, so they must be dressed nicely. The patient's date is most likely this woman in a pretty dress. Now, let's do some exercises to train your eyes. Here's a bunch of hearts. Can you find one broken heart? Yes, here it is. Good job. The task is similar, but not quite. Now there are many hearts and a few broken hearts. How many broken hearts are there? There are 5 broken hearts here. Have you found them all? Kelsey came to an antique store to get some presents for her boyfriend for Valentine's Day. She needed a baseball cap for him, an antique pocket watch, and a toy car from the 1920s. Can you help her find all these items for her boyfriend? Here's the cap, here's the watch, and here's the car. Have you spotted them all? Mark, the boyfriend, is getting presents for Kelsey in the same antique store. He needs to find a pretty cup, an antique mirror, and a beautiful photo album. He needs some help too, so keep your eyes wide open. Do you see all these items? Here they all are. 1, 2, and 3. Great job! It's a Valentine's Day party, and Melody, the most popular girl in school, is hosting it. 4 best friends are standing together, and one of them is Melody's boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
You ask them who the boyfriend is, and here's what they say. The first guy says, the fourth one is the boyfriend. The second guy says, it's me. The third one claims, no, it's the first guy. And the fourth one says,
No, it's actually me.
if only the boyfriend tells the truth and the other guys lie, who is Melody's boyfriend? Only the boyfriend tells the truth, so he will say, I'm the boyfriend. So it's either the second guy or the fourth one. But if the boyfriend is the fourth guy, then the first one is telling the truth too. So, Melody's boyfriend is the second guy.
So, our guy James here had passed all the first stages of the entrance exam for the Superhero Training Academy. For the final stage, the committee was going to test if he was able to determine who to save first in urgent situations. So they showed him a few images and wanted him to decide who was really in danger. Can you help him out? Here are the first 2. In the second image, the train is not moving and the lights are not on. That means the man can cross without any danger. As for the woman taking a bath and trying to dry her hair, well, it's not wise to use electrical stuff in the bathtub, so James should save her first. Now take a look at this footage of 2 people falling from a cliff. Can you help James detect who is in real danger here? The guy holding the umbrella might appear to be falling faster than the guy holding the plastic bag. However, he's going to fall right into the water, whereas there is a sharp rock right below the plastic bag guy. So, in a situation like this, James should save him first. The last image was going to determine whether James would be accepted or not. Who should be saved first? The lady absorbed in her phone in the second image is safe, because even though the traffic looks busy, the lights show a clear walk signal and cars are stopped. But the man in the first image has left a metal spoon in the microwave that he's about to turn on. That's a big no-no. James finally got accepted into Superhero Training Academy. But there, he was not going to use his real name. He needed to pick a superhero name for himself. Can you guess what his name is? These emojis might help. His superhero name is Thunderbolt Titan. Ooh. It was time to graduate. At the ceremony, the headmaster of the academy wanted to reward Thunderbolt Titan for finishing first in his class. He presented him with a mysterious chest containing a puzzle. Inside awaited a new suit, a cloak, and a high-tech gadget, but only if Thunderbolt Titan could crack the code. Can you help him solve the puzzle and claim his rewards? Look at the number sequence. What comes next? The correct answer is 7238. You just have to move the last number to the front. One day when Thunderbolt Titan was at home, somebody slid a note under his door. But it was encrypted with a strange number sequence. And below the numbers, there was a hint. Think about your device. Can you help decode the mysterious message? To decode this number sequence, we use a mobile phone keypad, as the hint suggests, where each number pair represents a letter. The first digit indicates the keypad number, and the second digit selects the letter's position on that key. For instance, 42 translates to H because 4 corresponds to the GHI button, and pressing on it 2 times will give you H. Following this method, the fully decoded message is "Help now." A villain from the multiverse had brought all kinds of creatures to planet Earth, and the Protectors League needed Thunderbolt Titan's help to find and capture them before they unleashed chaos. The first monster they were searching for was a zombie, and the Protectors League had 3 suspects. Take a look at them and help Thunderbolt Titan successfully complete his first mission. The first person looks all dirty, but she was probably working in the garden. The second lady's grocery bag is leaking juice, not blood. So the third person must be the zombie, because the living don't wear hospital tags on their ankles. The second creature the Protectors League was searching for was an extraterrestrial being. Take a look at their 2 suspects. Who is the one hiding from the League? Look at Gary M's hospital patient chart. It says his fever is 24.5 degrees Celsius. A human can't have such a low body temperature. He must be the creature. Lastly, the League suspected that a robot was pretending to be a human at a college campus. They spotted 3 students who were acting suspiciously. Can you help Thunderbolt Titan figure out who the robot is? You might think it's obvious that the third student is a robot, but he only has a super realistic-looking robot tattoo on his arm. The first student has a blinking red light inside his shirt's pocket, but that's just a camera. On the other hand, the second student has a USB port on one of her fingers. She must be the robot. To the Protectors League's surprise, there was a 4th monster who had escaped their attention. And at the headquarters, they got an emergency alarm that it was creating mayhem at the amusement park. Thunderbolt Titan immediately rushed there. Upon arrival, he found that the creature's actions had led to a malfunction on the roller coaster ride, causing 3 passengers to be stranded dangerously. Which one should Thunderbolt Titan save first? The second guy will fall first because he's only holding on with one hand, which is actually pretty difficult to do for an extended period of time. Therefore, Thunderbolt Titan should first save him. Thunderbolt Titan had successfully completed his first 2 missions. However, the villain was not happy that he ruined his evil plans. So he captured him and locked him in a room with no exits. There was only a note that said, "Answer this riddle and you might escape." What can fill a room but takes up no space? The answer is light. Even though Thunderbolt Titan answered the riddle correctly, nothing happened. The villain had tricked him. He had to do something, so he used his superpowers to open 3 portals for himself. However, he didn't have great control over his magical portal power yet. So, all the portals led to tricky places. The first one opened to a jungle full of all kinds of wild animals. The second one opened into the middle of a desert planet, and the third one opened to the edge of a steep, rocky hill. Which one should he choose? Remember the roller coaster mission? Thunderbolt Titan can fly, so he can choose the third portal and fly to safety from the steep hill. One night, Thunderbolt Titan was patrolling the city when he received a distress call. A woman had been attacked by a purse snatcher, and during the struggle, she fell and hit her head. She was now in the hospital room without her bag and her memory. The police officer informed Thunderbolt Titan that there were 3 men outside her door. All claimed the snatcher might have taken her bag. But he didn't take her necklace. Look, she has an L letter pendant. And the first guy here has a neck tattoo that says Liz. He must be her husband. Thunderbolt Titan got an emergency alarm call from the Antarctica Animals Research Center. One of their beloved penguins had been stolen, and they needed his help to find the thief. After using his superhero senses, he narrowed the suspects to 3. Take a look at them. Can you figure out who stole the penguin? The second lady looks like she's hiding something under her skirt, but she's just pregnant. The third guy's backpack looks bulky, but see the flight tag attached to it? That's just his carry-on. But the first guy is hiding raw fish inside his tote bag. That must be to feed the penguin, so he's the thief. During a championship race, one of the cars was suspected of being sabotaged. Thunderbolt Titan was called to the scene to help identify which one with his scanning power. Can you figure it out before him? Take a look at the rear wheel of car 2. It's slightly wobbling, even though the car is stationary. Uh-oh.
Inspector Lewis found the footage of a fancy dinner where a famous actress was almost poisoned. He analyzed the video and came to a quick conclusion of who was the culprit. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out who tried to poison the celebrity? The picture clearly shows that the second lady was the culprit. You see, the lady decided to wear gloves so she wouldn't get poison on her hands and poison herself. Besides, if you were to poison someone, you would have to make the food look presentable. And if you take a look at the First Lady's soup, it looks pretty terrible. Alex needed to get across a park in the middle of the night. He walked fast, until out of nowhere a hooded man came up to him and knocked him out. The next day, Alex went to the closest police station to file a report. When he got there, the police were interrogating 3 suspects, Ben, Michael, and Bernie. The detective gave each of them a marker and asked them to write down their names. As soon as they finished, he arrested the right person. How did the officer know who to arrest? The test wasn't all that random after all. Alex was hit from the right side, so the police were trying to figure out who was left-handed. And among these 3 guys, the only left-handed one is Bernie. On a moonless night, Mary decides to watch a horror movie before going to bed. She passes out on her couch, and the next thing she knows, she wakes up in a haunted castle. She hears screeching sounds and screams all over the place. She walks carefully to the kitchen, where she finds 3 suspicious meals ready to be eaten. Take a look at the plates. Can you help Mary figure out which of these plates is poisoned? So, the french fries look relatively okay. The cake has a spider climbing on top of it. But hey, it's protein, right? But the meat, oh, the meat has a strange liquid coming out of it. That's the one that's probably poisoned. The airport police are having a lot of trouble these days. Many convicts escape prison and are trying to leave the country as fast as they can. Take a look at this image. You gotta figure out ASAP who the fugitive is. It's the lady on the right. Although the woman in the wanted poster is blonde, she must have dyed her hair brown to try to get through security. But her lips and freckles are exactly the same as in the picture. Something weird happened to Johnny's wedding day. He was busy tackling some last-minute problems when he slipped on a banana peel. How comical. He hit his head pretty strongly, but when he woke up, he didn't know where he was. He lost his long and short-term memory, and uh-oh, there were 4 different brides in front of him, but he didn't know who his real bride was. Take a look at the image. And first of all, try to rule out which of these brides is actually life-threatening to Johnny. Did you see the hidden poison jar on that bride? The bride on the left is probably pretty dangerous. He should rule her out first. Jane and Brendan really didn't like each other. They were sharing a flat because they were short on money. What Brendan didn't know is that Jane had Jane put poison on one side of the knife, which was the piece she gave Brendan. Take a look at this image. Who do you think is being more careless here? It's the girl on the right. She's almost falling out of the boat. She should move to the middle and help balance the weight. And what about in this image? Who do you think is being irresponsible here? Let's see. It's the person on the right. The snake is too close to her face. It could hurt her, while the crocodile is simply interested in the meal the man is feeding him. An old lady was shopping at the mall when she saw something strange. She looked at a woman all dressed in orange at the cashier and shouted that she was seeing a prisoner that must have just escaped from prison. The woman in orange felt really confused, called the police, and got the old lady kicked out of the mall. What exactly happened here? The woman was dressed in orange overalls. It was just a fashion trend. But the old lady mistook it for prison clothing. In a parallel reality where humans, witches, and all types of beings coexist, Jenny and Lawrence were playing hide and seek. They were inside a huge old mansion. Jenny spent hours looking for her friend until she stepped inside the study. There were footprints up until the middle of the room, and then they disappeared. The only window of the room was open. Take a look at the picture. Can you figure out what happened here? Lawrence was a shapeshifter. This explains why the footprints didn't reach the window. Plus, look at the bird food on the floor. He probably shapeshifted into a bird and escaped. Katie got lost in the desert. She walked for hours when suddenly she came across a huge oasis. But to reach the main waterfall where she could drink some water, she had to cross a bridge. There were 3 bridges leading to the same place. The first bridge was far from the ground, and its rope looked like it could rip at any second. The second bridge had some hungry-looking alligators crawling on it. The last bridge stood above a lake full of poisonous water plants. Which bridge should she choose? The last one. The bridge stands above a poisonous lake, but she won't touch the water when crossing it. A group of friends rented a fancy villa for a vacation, right on the seaside. When they arrived, the hostess offered them cake and drinks. They chatted and ate the delicious cake, when suddenly, two of them started to feel really bad. They were immediately taken to the hospital, and the doctor said they found poison in their bodies. Take a look at the image. How did the other two friends survive after eating the cake? That's easy. The poison wasn't in the cake. The poison was on the drinks the hostess served them. If you look closely, the friends that felt sick drank what the hostess offered them, and the others didn't. Oh my! Mark, Bray, and Livia are doing terribly financially. So they walked into a local supermarket looking for the cheapest thing to buy. One of them was planning on stealing something. But hey, can you figure out who just stole something? It was Livia, the little girl. She's hiding something in her shirt pocket. Can you see?
Luna here buys a plot of land with an unfinished house. The previous owner started construction 2 years ago, but he didn't finish it. Luna launches reconstruction, and soon she realizes that the house is haunted. Most ghosts are peaceful, but after a while, some mischievous ghost begins to ruin the house. Luna calls a famous ghostbuster, Phil. He interviews all the ghosts. The handyman ghost says he's been here since the very beginning, because he fell during construction. The ghost doctor says he moved here 6 years ago to hide from people and enjoy silence. And the third ghost used to live in a lake nearby, but then settled here. That was more than a year ago. So, who's lying? The doctor. He says he moved here 6 years ago. But the house itself was built only 2 years ago. Case solved. The local music school is haunted by the ghost of an opera diva. Phil arrives, explores the school, and questions 3 witnesses. The teacher heard the singing from the basement the other day. She went there to check, but it was empty. Nellie, the student, says that he saw the singing ghost in the hallway. And another student, Sam, saw her in the toilet. After hearing their stories, Phil is sure that the students pranked their teacher. Why? Take a closer look at the basement. It's full of dusty stuff. But this smart speaker isn't dusty, which means it was brought here recently. Only students claim to have actually seen the diva ghost. Oh, busted! Phil gets out of the castle and receives a new call. People complain about a ghost on the local pier. Phil arrives at the haunted spot and sees these 3 ladies. Who's the ghost? All 3 are ghosts. If they were living, dense people, their backs would be reflected in the water, not their faces. Phil asks the ghost ladies to leave. 2 of them agree, but the third one escapes to the nearest forest. Phil follows her, but he loses track. Can you help him find her? She's hiding in this puddle. Phil returns home and checks his email. He receives 2 job offers from 2 different ghost-busting agencies. One of them is willing to pay him $1.8 million with an annual increase of $200,000. Another company is offering him a salary of $2 million with no raises. Which job will create more wealth in 3 years? Alright, let's do the math. If Phil picks the first agency, his salary will grow to $2 million in the second year. And in the third year, it will be $2.2 million. So he would earn $6 million by the end of the third year. If he picks the second agency, the math is more simple. 3 times 20. And again, he would earn $6 million by the end of the third year. However, if Phil picks the first agency, he would earn much more in the fourth year. So the choice is pretty obvious. Phil takes the first job, but first he decides to have a brief vacation in a famous haunted hotel. Unfortunately, someone robs the hotel during his stay. The police officer arrives in the morning and interrogates 3 guests. Phil says, "Sir, there was a heavy snowfall yesterday, so I was in my room all day watching TV." Peter says, "I was feeling sick yesterday. I wasn't in my senses. How could I commit the robbery?" And Bella says, "I returned to the hotel about 10 minutes ago. I don't know anything about the robbery." The officer figures out who committed the robbery right away. What about you? Bella is suspicious. She says she returned 10 minutes ago. But there are no footprints outside the hotel except for the officer's footprints. The next morning, Phil wakes up in a haunted basement. He's starving. Suddenly, a creepy man enters and brings him 4 plates of food. He says that Phil can only choose one dish. What should he choose? There's a bug in the first plate. The second one has an unpleasant smell. And the fourth one has nothing edible left. So Phil should take the third plate. After a while, the local ghost offers Phil a deal. If he solves a riddle, the ghost will help him escape. What phrase is represented by this rebus below? Can you help him out? It means, I am surrounded by enemies. Phil keeps on chasing the ghost and falls into a pit. He ends up getting trapped in a cave. Phil comes across 3 doors. Behind the first door, there's a maze. He will be lost for the rest of his life trying to get through. There's a deep, narrow chasm behind the second door. If Phil steps in, he'll fall into it. There's a zombie behind the third door. He loves feasting on humans. What should Phil do to escape? He should open the second door, then open the third one and quickly hide behind the first door. The zombie would assume that Phil entered the second door and start chasing him. The zombie will fall into the chasm and Phil will be free to go through the third door. Phil gets out of the trap and returns to the city. He's walking down the street. Suddenly, a pretty lady approaches him and asks to call the police. Someone stole her bag that had millions of dollars. Phil questions her about the thief. She says she was walking down the street when a guy came running from behind. He was wearing gloves and a face mask. He snatched the bag and ran away. She couldn't even see him. Phil asks, "How come you have scratches all over your face?" She replies that she tried to catch him and he scratched her cheek with a golden ring. It was on his right hand. Phil immediately understands that her story is fake. Why? The lady mentioned that the thief was wearing gloves, so he couldn't scratch her with a golden ring. Phil arrives at his new office. His colleagues give him a big welcome cake. He leaves it in the office fridge to drink tea together during lunch hours. He opens the fridge again and sees that someone bit his cake. Phil questions for suspects. Bella says she's been at a business meeting all morning. She hasn't even entered the kitchen today. Sam entered the kitchen only 2 times to use the coffee machine, but he didn't open the fridge. And Hannah says she's on a sugar-free diet. Lily says she was at the dentist all morning, and she just got here. Who's lying? Sam. Take a look at the coffee machine. The sign says that it's broken. Therefore, his entire story is fake. Phil's client sends him 2 pictures of a creepy haunted house. Can you spot 7 differences between them? Here they are. Great job! The next day, Phil goes to check an abandoned castle. He gets trapped in a room with 3 doors through which he can escape, but each way hides some danger. There's a zombie behind the first door. Behind the second door, there's a hungry wolf, and a spooky ghost is waiting behind the third door. Which door should he choose? Ghosts tend to scare people, but they are not dangerous, so the third door is the safest option. Phil finds himself in a hallway. The door is closed and the lock appears to be quite complex. Luckily, Phil meets the local guardian ghost. He shows Phil 3 keys. One of them will certainly unlock the door. However, if Phil uses the wrong key, he'll stay trapped in this cursed castle forever. Can you help him choose the correct key? Only the second key fits